Joining us now to talk about how to shape tomorrow's future female leaders is Dr. Marisa Porges, the head at the Baldwin School and the author of What Girls Need, How to Raise Bold, Courageous, and Resilient Women. Dr. Porges, thanks so much for talking with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. Great to be here.
So you were a former White House strategist and naval flight officer, and now you're the head of one of the premier schools for girls. So you're really uniquely qualified and positioned to talk about just what girls need. What motivated you to write this book?
Frankly, it was the girls at my school. I was inspired by the fact that I get the chance every day to lead a community of about 600 young women from pre-kindergarten all the way through grade 12. And I realized that in the course of my conversations with them, I was sharing stories about my time in the Navy, my time at the White House, my time in Afghanistan. And before long, I realized that a lot of the lessons I wish I'd learned when I was their age, I didn't pick up until much later. And as I was sharing with them those lessons and research about how women lead differently than men and how we need to lean into our superpowers as strong, independent women, I realized there's a message I wanted to share, not just with the girls at Baldwin, but with girls everywhere, and thus the book.
And in this current climate, we're certainly seeing more women speak on the challenges that they face in the workplace. Let's just take a look at this TikTok video that has garnered more than 400,000 views. It's called Just a Woman Writing an Email. In your book, you shared a similar experience. I'm curious to know your advice for girls trying to navigate in a male-dominated world.
Yeah, I mean, watching that TikTok video, it just is a reminder that for so many women at any stage of our career, we've had that moment, that sense of imposter syndrome, that sense of insecurity, that self-doubt. So first, for girls and women out there, you're not alone. I can remember the first meeting I had with the President of the United States, President Obama, sitting across the table outside the Oval Office. And in the course of the hour, suddenly my confidence just left me. And I was filled with second guessing, self-doubt, and the question about did I deserve to be there? I think there are things that we can do from an early age, and my book gives us tricks and skills that we can develop through practice, including digging into our competitive spirit, making it a game, making the art of winning at work or in any context just something that we do each and every day. There are little ways we can do that for our girls and as young women and as women at any stage that I think are really important. And I think it's about starting with a candid conversation of what works best for girls everywhere.
And you also explore the art of asking. For example, you found that gender impacts negotiations and that women often face backlash when they try to negotiate salaries, so much so that they often avoid the process from the start. How detrimental is that to a female's growth?
Well, I mean, just think that still in 2021, the gender wage gap says an average woman makes about 80 cents to the dollar of what a man would make in the same job. And it starts because in your very first job, fewer women compared with their male peers negotiate that first salary. I can remember when I left the military and joined the Pentagon as a civilian, it wasn't until months later that I realized I was being paid less and actually had worse medical benefits than my male colleagues because I simply didn't know the art and the practice of asking. There are things we can practice with our girls from elementary school that will help them get used to asking for what they need, asking for what they deserve, and do it in a way that feels comfortable for women so we avoid that sense of backlash. There's tricks in the book about how to make it not just about ourselves, but about the people on the team we're working with. Things that make even introverted women and girls feel most comfortable asking for a salary bump, a different time of day to have a meeting, a different need for their vacation or for their family life at home. These are all things that if we get girls from elementary and even early teenage years to practice a little bit each day, when they get out for that first job, they won't have as much of a hang-up and a holdback from doing it in a way that works for them and avoids gender gaps and wage differences later on, too.
And you also specifically analyzed some of the gender disparities within higher education. Your research found that, quote, approximately 77% of teachers are women, but most of the senior officials and administrators at schools are male. As the head of an all-girls school, how important is it to see representation of women in leadership positions like yourself?
It's incredibly important. Seeing you here on the show today, seeing the women reporters, seeing a female vice president, seeing the women at the Olympics. These are incredibly critical moments for our young girls. For girls, especially more than boys, seeing it is believing it. Understanding that you can get there too, because you understand that you watch someone else do it ahead of you. It's why at Baldwin, we actually build in lessons on female scientists, female artists, female athletes, because we want our girls from a very young age to understand that any door is open to them. It's why I'd suggest for every parent, father, mother out there watching, turn on the Olympics, get an article out and say, hey girls, look, there are more women athletes at the Olympics for the US right now than men. And it's because, they had role models ahead of them, and the next generation needs those role models too. It's an incredibly powerful thing we can do for the next generation.
That idea of you have to see it to be it. What advice would you give to mothers like me raising a young son? What's one concept in particular that young boys should have instilled in them as they're growing up in order to help foster this mindset that women deserve a seat at the table?
And it's about the men too in our lives. And as having a young son at home myself, that is on my mind. And there's a couple things we can do. First, it's about, feeling how we're role modeling these actions of building seats for the women in our lives at home, for the daughters and the wives and the sisters and around the table. They need to be part of the conversation as much as the boys. It's also about finding examples in our own life and celebrating them, not just the role models we see on TV or at the Olympics or on the podium of the White House, but in our daily life, celebrating aunts, celebrating sisters, celebrating wives when they have moments of success. Showing our boys by example that this is a critical part of everyday life is a really, incredibly personal, intimate, and powerful way to exemplify for them that that's what we think is important and we want to see in them when they grow up. So it does start at a young age with my toddler at home, and Linsey, your son as well.
And an adorable picture of your son, by the way, already promoting just what girls need. Dr. Porges, we thank you for speaking with us today. Your book, What Girls Need, How to Raise Bold, Courageous, and Resilient Women, is out today wherever books are sold. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.